to be with you all today. So, yes. So it's, we're in the next week. We had Thanksgiving last week. I didn't think I talked to you guys on Friday because it was kind of, 'cause I'm like, everybody's, on Thursday, everybody's having Thanksgiving, and on Friday, everybody is shopping. Well, that's kind of the way I figured it, that everybody would be shopping. But anyway, I'm not gonna stay chatting it up like this for very long. I wanted to welcome you all. Remember, SARE stands for, or the name of this podcast or this live stream is SARNT, SAIRNT. It actually stands for SARE Nutritional Therapy, or Sugar Addiction is Real Nutritional Therapy. So that's the name of my practice, and I am the founder of the Sarah Nutritional Therapy. Also, I am the founder of Some Foods, the maker of Some Sweet. That is, as I like to say, the most spectacular sweetener on the market. It is the sweetener that helped me to kick my sugar addiction. Yes, indeed, it did. And so, and also, just want to remind you that today is November 30th. And see, there's 30 days in this month, right? There's an old nursery rhyme that I use to remember that 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31, except for February with leap year. Yeah, something like that. But it always kind of helps me to remember that. So there are 30 days in this month, and today is the last day of the month. And this month of November is National Diabetes Awareness Month. Again, I want to remind you that if you do not know what your risk is for type 2 diabetes, or for even developing type 2 diabetes, or if you're pre-diabetic, you can go over to the American Diabetes Association, and they do have a quiz over there that you can take that will help you to assess your risk factors. Okay, so with that being said, we do have a great guest with us today. As remember, we have our guests on Tuesdays and Thursdays of this year. This will be changing sometime next year, but for right now, Tuesdays and Thursdays are the day that we have our guests on. And so I do have a great guest that will be joining us today. Again, if you are tuning in, please drop me a comment so that I can know where it is that you're tuning in at. And we do live stream on 4 days a week, so we go Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday. How to forget Wednesday? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are the days that we actually are doing the live stream. And we are live streaming on Facebook, and that is SAIRNT on Facebook, as well as YouTube, SAIRNT. You can also catch us on Instagram, and that's actually Some Sweet Foods. That's where we're streaming live to, and on Twitter at Some Sweet Foods. So again, that's Instagram at Some Sweet Foods, Twitter at Some Sweet Foods, Facebook at SAIRNT or SARNT, and YouTube at SARNT as well. We will be opening up and streaming starting probably next week on Twitter, and then we'll also be doing some lives into the Clubhouse app, and you will also be able to find us on TikTok at SAIRNT. It's fantastic. So we're steadily moving into getting ourselves on all of these nutrition apps, and of course we're streaming here on HAPS at SAIRNT. So with that being said, so we do have a great guest with us today. Her name is Kathryn May, and she's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. Also, if you want to get a hold of the audio version of this, it is a podcast, and that's available at SAIRNT, and it's got Sugar Addiction is Real Nutritional Therapy. So that's SARNT, or SARE Nutritional Therapy. The Sugar Addiction is Real Nutritional Therapy. Wherever you get your favorite podcast, wherever your favorite podcast streaming app, you can find us there. Okay, all right, fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and grab our guest to join us. If you would bear with me just one moment, we will get her on with us. So, and so she'll be joining us in just a few moments. So, hello,
Hey,
hello, hello.
hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. Just want to
Okay.
welcome you to today's broadcast. So this is Kathryn May, and she's going to tell us about her services that she offers, her story, her health journey, and everything it is that she's doing. So everybody, sit up, pay attention, and grab a pen and paper because I don't have those little things where I can pop it on the screen that quick anymore. But she's going to share with us. So Kathryn, welcome. Tell us about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you because sugar addiction is real. It really is. So
Yes.
this is definitely the right spot for me to be sharing my story. I have just been sharing a little bit, and I guess I'll just start here. I started a YouTube channel 2 years ago, April 2020, and
Mhm.
I did that to just share the things that were the overflow of my heart.
Okay.
And in starting that, I also went ahead and just started vlogging my weight loss journey, which I was in the middle of at the time.
Mhm.
And that really just picked up a lot of traction, and a lot of people wanted to know what I was doing and then started following me. And I felt this overwhelming sense of obligation to the people that were following me
Right.
to share with them what I was doing, and then also accountability to keep going and trying to be the healthiest version of myself. So, in doing that, I realized after I started vlogging, it really wasn't until I started vlogging and really talking with other women and really even just talking to a camera, which was helping me to process the things in my mind, that
Mhm.
I realized I battle with, like this diet mentality. I've battled yo-yo dieting. I've
Right.
battled extreme diets, using extreme diets, and all the things I didn't realize I struggled with so much till I really started diving into why am I continuing to go back, or why do I want to quit doing this to show everybody, what I'm doing? Why do I want to quit and go run and hide in a closet and eat all the chips?
Right. Right.
you know? Yeah. So I had to take a few minutes and really just think, well, a lot of minutes, not a few. But it just happened over the course of time where I was realizing to be healthy, it doesn't just start on the outside, it starts on the
Right.
inside. And I've
Mhm.
spent so much time focusing on the external, like just trying to lose all the fat, that I wasn't really addressing the internal and what's going on in my mind, like to be
Right.
healthy. And so
Right.
this whole time I'm doing this YouTube channel brand new in 2020, I'm in the middle of my weight loss journey. I had already lost 35 pounds and I was on my way to losing 60 more. And,
Ooh.
I was 194 pounds at that time and just struggling, to get past that point.
Mhm.
And I started a program and just started vlogging it. And that's what I was doing. But I was also in the process at that time of getting my mental health certification to be a mental health coach.
Yes.
So I was really diving into something that I already dive into a lot in my life, and that's my mental health. Like, I just really think a lot about what I'm thinking about and why I'm thinking about it. So
Right.
I'm a really big advocate for self development and taking time to do some really good self evaluation, is what I call it. And that's what I was doing that whole time, and realizing that the problems started when I was a little girl. And I think I shared
Oh.
just a little bit of this with you when we chatted before, but I'll share it, with you, with your
Yes.
audience
Please.
too
Please.
here today. I grew up in a very abusive environment. I was abused, severely abused as a little girl, sexually abused, and then also just grew up watching abuse around me. Like, my mother was abused, my brother was abused. There was just a lot of physical abuse, and I thought I was being sexually abused by my real dad. So it was even harder as a little girl at the
Oh.
age of, 3, to try and process why this was all happening to me.
Mhm.
And of course, just that happening alone is incredibly horrible, complex trauma that happened. But
Right.
it happened until I was 12, so for years. I mean, it was a
Mhm.
long time. And then when I was 12, I found out he was not in fact my real dad. So whoa. So
Yeah.
all of this happening to me, I ended up what I ended up doing was, as about a 7 or 8 year old little girl, I started to
Mhm.
look towards food to fill this empty void inside of me.
Mhm.
And as I was doing that, I didn't realize it so much at first, But then I started to feel my stomach would hurt after I would eat so much. I would like binge eat as a 7 year old. I would eat as much as I could until I was hurting, you know? And
Mhm.
then I had this idea that if I ate enough, I might actually explode and I wouldn't have to endure the abuse anymore. So mentally, I started creating a very unhealthy relationship with food.
Mhm.
And obviously, as I grew up, I realized that's not possible. I'm not going to explode. You know, it's not
Right.
a cartoon. I started to, or I continued with food in a way that was unhealthy by eating to protect myself,
Mhm.
to try and cover myself and to try and be unattractive. And this
Yeah.
isn't to say that being a little extra fluffy is unattractive. It's just
Mhm.
that it was unhealthy. I was always going to cake or chips or cookies or soda or anything that I could get my hands on that would make me feel better
Mhm.
or make me feel safer.
Right.
And that's just kind of what happened. And I started there. And then that happened until middle school. Right after middle school, I decided I was tired of being fat. So I starved myself for a month and lost a lot of weight. And then, of course, there's the another extreme. I went from one
Yeah.
extreme to the other.
Right.
And, the abuse had stopped. So I thought, now I can get skinny. And if I'm skinny, then I'll be
Mhm.
pretty because that was the message I was given,
Right.
so
And
much as a little girl.
yeah, and that's the message that a lot of us are given. I mean, we're not saying, like, again, like Catherine said, we're not saying that being fat is unattractive or plus size is unattractive or whatever you want to say it. No, we're not saying that. I mean, the whole thing is that we know what society says and how society has said things and made things to look, that we're now just starting to get these body positive messages for if you're, if you have a larger frame, that to where it speaks to saying, hey, you're good too, you look good too, you're beautiful too. So I mean, so don't come for us, okay? Because
Yeah.
this is Catherine's story, so y'all just chill and listen, okay? So
Yeah,
continue
that's
on.
really good. And I always want to say that too, because I definitely don't think that that's the truth now. But as a little girl, I did. I believe that because that was the messaging I received. And
And you were trying to
unfortunately, I
save
think,
yourself as well.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what you were trying
Yeah.
to use to save yourself. If you thought that to stop this, then hey, let me get this way. Because no doubt
Yeah.
that all kinds of people always say things about people that are like that are heavy set or whatever you want to call them. They say negative things about them and say, oh, you don't like that? Let me become that.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I heard. In school, kids are mean. And they
Yeah.
would say things like, you're fat and ugly. Or, I would see things on magazine covers, and those images would portray, if you don't look like this, you're not attractive.
Hmm.
And so that was just the messaging, that I received. So, of course, as I got older, it didn't really, I only starved myself for a month and then realized that's not going to work out for me because I don't want to be that person. And I thank God today I don't have an eating disorder, but I definitely have battled every day emotional eating. And I've
Hmm.
battled this like thing that just kind of like calls to me like, go eat, you'll feel better. And it's kind of like an alcoholic, or it's kind of like somebody who's addicted to nicotine or anything
Hmm.
like that. It's like that
Right.
stress reliever, or that comfort, but it's not really comforting, it's not really helpful, it's actually harmful. We think in the moment that is helping us, and then our blood sugar's through the roof, or our lungs are struggling, or our
Yeah.
liver's hurting, so there's
Right.
all those type of things that I think it's not necessarily called an eating disorder, but I definitely know that it's something that I have to be very aware of within myself. When things are getting hard around me, that I need to be conscious of, what am I trying to go to? And so instead of going to food,
Hmm.
during this whole time where I was realizing, wow, I really do battle with a lot of internal stuff. And why did I keep trying for all these years to lose all this weight? Like, I lost 100 pounds at one point in my life. I was 230 pounds. I got down to 124 pounds or 125 pounds. And I
Uh-huh.
still thought I was huge, in my,
Hmm.
in my own mind. I didn't even see, I still saw what I saw in the mirror before, which I thought was a big fat girl. And I
Hmm.
struggled with that. So, looking back, now I can see those pictures, and that's obviously not true. And then I had to overcome body dysmorphia and like looking at myself through the true lens of who I am to my
Mm-hmm.
father, my creator, the one who made me,
Right.
wonderfully and beautifully and fearfully, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Right.
kind of had to struggle through a little bit of that too, and just seeing myself as I really am. And that was a really big struggle. And I help women overcome that same battle because I've been able to overcome it. But it took me actually doing the internal work, the stuff that where you sit down and you journal out what you're feeling and how you're dealing. And if you don't deal, with what's going on inside of you, you have to feel first. So if you're not willing to feel what you're feeling, you
Mm-hmm.
can't deal with what's going on, and then you can't heal from what's going on. So you have to
Right.
feel in order to deal so that you can heal. You have
Oh,
to.
that's good.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, okay, I really need that. So I needed to take some more time and really sit and think about what is going on in my mind. Why do I keep doing these extreme diets where I'm losing 100 pounds and then gaining 100 pounds? That's a lot of weight to lose and
Yeah.
gain.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy,
It is. It is.
because I would do it and then I would get to the point where I thought I'll be happy if I get here, but I didn't. I got there and wasn't happy. So I would just
Right.
eat my way back to what I thought was happy. That
So
make any
it
sense?
wasn't really the weight was not what was causing your emotional struggles. It was not that at all. It was just
No,
a symptom.
that's true. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I had to realize that first of all, and then start to really feel and then deal with the things that like anxiety and depression, and really allowing myself to cry sometimes instead of holding it all in, because
Hmm.
as a trauma survivor, somebody who's really, really been through it, you just kind of learn to be tough and wall up and deal with it and stuff it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really dealing with it. I shouldn't say that because it's not
Right.
just stuffing it
Right.
all away. And, it's not healthy. And eventually, what's going on in the inside will show up on the outside. And one day I
Mhm.
was really struggling. With my weight after I had my third child. And it wasn't just baby weight. Like I ate a lot of McDonald's and Doritos. So it was
Yeah.
just me, being
Yeah.
silly. And I remember going to the Lord because my back was hurting so bad because I gained a lot
Hmm.
of excess weight and my back already is struggling in some areas. And I remember being really angry at him one day. And usually, if I get angry at the Lord, I try to hide it like he already knows.
Hmm.
But I just sat down after church one day. I put my little boy, who's really tiny, down for a nap, and I sat down on my floor, which is not the place I normally go, in my
Right.
bedroom, and I just started crying. And I just said, God, I'm so angry. Why is my back hurting all the time? And he told me to get my journal out. I started writing some things down, and it began to shift from me writing to him writing, and he began to share with me how I needed to drop the weight, but it wasn't the physical weight that's the problem. It was the emotional stress, the emotional weight that I was
Right.
carrying around. He wanted me to drop that weight so that I could drop the weight, so that my back would feel better, so that my shoulders could rest, so
Yeah.
all the things would be healthy
Right.
around me. So our
Right.
emotions have so much to do with our health. Our internal has so much to do with our external. So that's really why I love helping women, not just like, let's lose a quick 10. Mm-mm. It's
Hmm.
not even about that. You might want to lose 5 or 10 pounds, but how about let's learn how to live a healthy lifestyle from the inside out? And
Yes.
so I'm a self development life coach and certified in mental health because I'm very passionate about those things. And I feel if you don't deal with everything as a whole, you're not really doing yourself any service at all. And
Exactly.
so sometimes we just need somebody to hold our hand
Hmm.
and help
Yeah.
us
A
through
lot
those.
of times. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. And so, so you took your pain and your struggles and what you were doing to try and bring yourself out with the help of your faith to bring yourself out, and then come to the place where now you're helping other women to also come out as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
so
I wrote a
let's.
book. So, like, I was in the
Okay.
process of doing that also in the middle of all of that emotional
Hmm.
stuff. So, it wasn't surprising to me that the weight, was coming on, that it was staying on me because there was so much weight. That's a big battle to kind of drudge up some of the past and write it all down
Yeah.
in a way that is encouraging, because it wasn't an encouraging story at first, but the point was to encourage a woman who may have struggled through abuse of some kind, whether it was with, like a narcissistic spouse, or as a child, or a mother that abused them, or whoever,
Yeah.
coming out of abuse, sometimes we can live in a victim mentality because of it for so long. And I totally did. So I recognize it in people too, because we recognize what we're familiar with.
Right.
And I just decided I was going to stand up. Like, the buck stops here in my generations. From here, from me on, my daughters, my sons, none of those children are going to experience the type of things that I experienced. So I started
Yes.
doing the healing and the hard work, and that was years before I wrote my book. But as I'm writing the book, so that I can get it out into the world and encourage women in who they are, in their identities, their true identities in Christ, to be able to see their self how he sees
Hmm.
them, to be able to love themselves just because they're a daughter, not because they've done anything amazing, but because their hair looks a certain way or their skin looks a certain way, but because God created them and they're fearfully and wonderfully made with a great purpose, and they has a plan for their life. And I had to
Right.
say all that, but I have to say all that to, I say, like, no, my life's not always been perfect. So if
Hmm.
I can figure it out, you can too, and here it is. And if he did it for me and pulled me out of the pit, he'll pull you out of the pit too. He'll come put his hand down there, you just have to reach up and grab it, and he'll pull you right out. Like,
Right.
that's what we have to
Right.
do.
And so, what's the name of your book? The title of your book?
It's Behind Enemy Lies.
Okay. Behind
Yeah.
enemy lies. You guys,
Yeah.
lies, not lines, but lies. Because he's always lying and telling you something that is, that's not truth. Yeah, to keep your mind locked up, and that's where a lot of the problems are, because that's super stressful. And what we don't realize is that stress in itself causes you to gain weight, so or to retain fat. That it's just a natural metabolic thing with us, that if you're under stress, that is going to cause you those kind of problems. And then not only that, it just goes from stress to now sleeplessness and all types of restlessness. It just all kind of plays hand in hand. And so you have to get your mind, relaxed into the to a relaxed state, to a peaceful state, so you can be able to drop the weight in a lifestyle fashion, not just a quick diet type fashion.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually the name of my video, releasing Saturday on my YouTube channel, is,
Hmm.
the effects of diet culture. Because I've been a part of diet culture pretty much my whole life, and I'm realizing the negative effects of it. And there's nothing wrong with the body positivity movement either. I think that's a good thing. But I
Hmm.
still think it's healthy to understand what really being healthy is. Like, is it really healthy for your heart if you're really, really, really overweight? Probably not. Like, no, it's not
Right.
actually. We know that medically it's not. So I
Right.
cannot get on board with that 100%, only because, and I talk about that on my channel too, and I hadn't really
Hmm.
made anybody mad yet, so thankfully, but because I truly do love it. This is from a heart of love. It's not from a heart of judgment.
Hmm.
It's just to say, like, yes, you're beautiful at every size. Like, yeah, of course you are.
Right.
But are you healthy? Probably not. You
Yeah.
could be
And I'm
unhealthy, too skinny, too, because
yeah.
you need nutrients and things like that.
Right, right. So, I
So,
mean, yeah, I mean, the body positive movement, I mean, it's something I think that is great to help people to feel positive in the skin that they're in, because you can't change that. But I think that being healthy, or as healthy as you can be, is the key. So you can't just go to, it can't be an extreme. It's just like, so I'm super unhealthy,
yeah,
and so, but I don't care. I'm going to be positive about this right here, this body. I think it's just a balance. If this body is healthy, you can be positive about it. But if it is unhealthy, you need to make a shift and a change
yeah,
to get you into a healthy state, and,
yeah.
be positive when you are healthy. I mean, well, you should be positive when you're unhealthy too, because you can be positive that you're going to get healthy.
That's right. I totally agree. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think this is really great. So, the name of your book is Behind Enemy Lies, and what's the name of your podcast, or your
Uh, my
YouTube
YouTube
channel?
channel is just my name. It's Kathryn May.
Kathryn May. That's
Hmm.
fantastic. So you guys tune in and go check out Kathryn's YouTube channel, Kathryn May, and your book. Where is it available at?
It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, anywhere books are sold.
Everywhere books are sold. You
Hmm.
guys go get her book, Behind
Yeah,
Enemy
you can.
Lies.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And you guys can visit my website. Actually, if you want to just read the first 3 chapters for free, you can go to my website. It's KathrynRoseMay.com. And you can download the first 3 chapters for free. And then if you love it from there, go grab the book.
Yes, that's fantastic. So you can get a free read of the first 3 chapters. That's really fantastic. I mean, I love your story that of how
Thank
you
you.
have overcome, and you're using all of that pain and all of that to help to heal women, to help them to come to the knowledge of what it is that they need to heal themselves mentally. And then you can take care. That phrase that you said is so good. You say, I mean, say it again for me, because I mean, it's like I'll
Mhm.
mess it up. So you have to
You have to
heal,
feel. Yeah, you have to
heal
feel. Allow
to
yourself to
heal,
feel so that you can deal and
deal.
then you can heal. Hmm.
You have
Yeah.
to feel to deal,
Deal.
heal.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, I'm gonna have to put that in the show notes. So when we're talking about that, because
Yeah.
that is really a fantastic thing. Feel to deal to heal. So,
Yeah.
and so your book is available. It's called Behind Enemy Lies. And Kathryn, I thank you so much for just sharing your story with us. And I mean, wow. I mean,
Well, you're absolutely welcome.
yeah,
You're welcome.
my mind is just like, my mind is blown, and I'm trying not to really shed tears over here. Um,
Oh.
for
Well, the Bible tells us that we're supposed to comfort others with the same comfort we've been comforted with.
hmm
And so that was the whole purpose in me doing that. It's I'm not a victim. I have been a victim.
hmm
Definitely. I've been victimized and I have been a victim, living in victim mentality. But
hmm
I am not a victim. That is not who I am. I'm
hmm
victorious
yes,
because of Jesus Christ. And that's the point. That's the whole point. It's not like, woe is me, look what's been done. But it's, whoa, look what's been done. Like, look what God did. That's the whole
yes.
point. I just could shout it from the rooftop. Seriously, my husband, he gets to hear it all the time. And he's like, girl, you need to go talk to somebody. That's why I started my YouTube channel. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I love sharing with other women who, want to see other people get healthy and healed from the pain of the past, because the pain of the past it's terrible and it's there. Like it can come back up, right? But
hmm
we are not the sum of all that's been done to us. Like
right.
we're not the sum total of all our mistakes or all the things that others have done to us. And I created a journal, and the journal goes along with the book, and the journal is called the Healing and Truth Journal.
Okay.
And you can get that, on Amazon or wherever books are sold also. But I created that to go along with the book because I knew that the book was going to pull some things out of people. And
Right.
it was probably going to pull little, maybe some hard things out of people. I think out of everyone that's given me feedback, most people are like, I read it in a day. I couldn't put it down. And I'm like, oh, that's so great. Because that was my goal. Like, please, Lord, let people
Yes.
receive this.
Yes.
But there was one lady who I grew up with who read my story, and it was a personal, so most of the people that reach out to me, I don't even know them, but
Right.
she knew me growing up, and she said I couldn't get through it. It broke my heart. And I felt so bad for her because I was like, oh, I want you to get past all the junk I have.
Yeah.
I want you to
Right.
get past all that so that you can see the goodness
hmm
of the Lord. And so
Yeah.
that Healing and Truth journal at the beginning, a lot of people don't know how to journal. And this, as a coach, this is my job, to help you discover how to do the things that maybe they're not normal or natural for you. Like maybe you've tried them before and they didn't work or whatever,
Right.
So journaling is kind of one of those things that I've helped some women through where they're like, I don't really do journaling. I'm like, well, how do you do journaling? And then I discover, well, they don't do it very well. That's why they don't like it.
Right.
So in the journal at the beginning, I've kind of put a how to journal, like just a small page of, how do
Okay.
you even journal? How do you hear from, excuse me, from God? And how can we really get healed using journaling as a tool? And journaling as a tool is good for so much like physical health too. It's actually been proven to lower blood pressure. Journal.
Yeah.
It's really
Okay.
important.
Cool.
And that alone is really important. But then on the next page is some little prompts that I give you to say, okay, start here every day. If you're like, I don't even know where to start, well, find 1 to 3 things that you can be thankful for every single day,
hmm
period. Like 1 to 3. If it's, I'm thankful for my eyelashes and my toenails, great, put that down.
Right.
And
Right.
then go with, what question one, like, okay, God, what is going on in my heart today? And listen, or, whatever it is, like I put these 4 things, you're just going to go through them. And
Mm-hmm.
then the next page is just scripture reference on identity. And then at the bottom, and then the rest is blank. Like you get to use it however you want. But at the bottom of every page is a scripture that I used to hold on to in my deepest, darkest, terrible times of my life, that
Mm-hmm.
they were my go-to scriptures when I felt like I was drowning. So I put a scripture at the bottom of every page throughout this 300-page journal for you
Okay.
to be encouraged by. So definitely check out the Healing and Truth Journal if you're going to pick up my book, because I'd say they pair really well together, especially if you're somebody who's like, this might pull out some stuff in me and I'm not so sure what to do with it. That's a great tool.
Okay, okay. So the journal as well as the book, the Healing and Truth Journal, and Behind Enemy Lies. So you guys, you need both of them. You need both of them so
Yeah.
you can write. I mean, because the part of even just me with just being weight loss, being a nutritional therapist, you have to journal your food. You have to journal what you eat
Yeah.
because that's the only way that you can really start to manage that. So journaling is absolutely healing. Yeah, it is absolutely. It helps to heal because without it, you can't. You have to have it to look at, to fall back on, to see, and then to know, recognize how far you've actually come because on this day you felt this way and you no longer harbor or carry those feelings, and so you can once it's done, then you be like, hey, I don't feel that way anymore. I overcome that. That's so journaling is really good for those types of things as well. So you can see where you came from and know and see your progress. I mean, that's really wonderful. So it's a
Yeah.
300-page journal. Wow,
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
great gift. Uh,
Yeah.
we do have a comment that says I like how she is a woman of faith, a woman of a believer.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, so that's fantastic. So I really like your story. I'm just I don't want to just just belittle anything or cut you short on what it is that you want to what it is you want to say to get that message out there to people about faith. Can you share just a little bit about how your faith actually helped you to come a little bit, how your faith helped you to come out of some of those dark days?
Yes, absolutely, for sure. I think that God's always had, looking back, hindsight's 2020, right? So
Right.
looking back, I think God's always had his hand on me, covering me the whole way, even when I felt so alone and desolate.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the times where I was like, how could God be good and let this happen to me? He must be a horrible father, or I am terrible, one or
Mm-hmm.
the other. Like,
Right.
so it took me a long time. And I think in my early 20s, he started sending me these women who I call checkpoint people. And I talk about that in my book too. But there was 3 women that he sent me at different stages of my life. Now I'm 39 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
This started when I was 24, 25 years old.
Okay.
And the first woman he sent me, because he knew I wouldn't listen to him. He knew I didn't trust him, and I knew God. Like I knew God like I know Taylor Swift. I
Right.
don't know her.
Right. Right.
But I know of her. But if I
Right.
were to be like, hey girl, you want to go have some lunch? She'd be like, security. Like, no, so
Right.
that's how I felt like I knew God. Like I didn't. I just knew who he was, and that was it, like a celebrity. And I didn't want to know him really, like beyond that. I didn't know how to read my Bible. I didn't know how to pray unless I was in desperate times. Because I was homeless at 15, and I went into this relationship with a man who was 11 years older than me, who was abusive also. So I just went from one to another, and
Right.
it was a really long, horrible time. Thankfully, that's been long done, and I'm so thankful God's healed a lot of
Right.
that. But these checkpoint
Right.
people, these women that he sent me, one would teach me of God the Son, Jesus Christ. And I knew Jesus as a child. Like I was saved at 11 years old, but I didn't quite understand what that meant. Who is Jesus? What does that even mean? So she took all this time to go through this discipleship program with me for 12 weeks, where she just called me. We were on the phone. We had little kids. We'd put our babies to bed. She'd call me and I'd ask her question after question as I went through the week's homework. And I
Mm-hmm.
began to discover who Jesus Christ was and who he really, like, what he did for me and his working, moving abilities now today. in me.
Mhm.
Like, what is
Mhm.
this? And then after I got done with that, it was the next season of my life, year and a half or so later, he brought another woman into my life, a stranger at the time. I didn't know her as I was meeting checkpoint person number one, whom I didn't know either. He just brought
Right.
her to me. It was these divine appointments is what I call them. These
Mhm.
cool little
Mhm.
meetings where I'm like, whoa, God, you knew what you were doing, but I didn't know it then.
Mhm.
And this woman would teach, the second woman would teach me of God the Holy Spirit. Who is that? What does that even mean? Is that
Yeah.
growing up? That was a scary thing, and we don't talk about that. That's of the devil, that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just what we were taught. And I was not, it brought me freedom. Let's just say that.
Mhm.
So then later in life, years later, there's big life changes and things happen. And I started to learn who I was in Christ through that second encounter with learning who the Holy Spirit was with this other woman who brought me through a lot of inner healing and
Mhm.
just spent a lot of time on her couch giving of herself while her kids were napping too. And she didn't know all the things because I kept them, hidden. I wasn't really
Right.
sure how to talk about them. And I didn't want to seem like a victim. So I just always tried to be hard and tough and everything's fine
Right.
until I couldn't anymore. And then he brought me checkpoint person number three who would teach me of God the Father. And once I discovered God the Father, his love for me, he loves me unconditionally no matter how much I fail, no matter how much I've been through, and
Mhm.
that I can trust him. It wasn't until I learned who he really was that I could understand who I really was and trust him to walk out of the crazy terrible relationship that I was in that was very abusive and hard.
Mhm.
And I was able to walk out of that knowing that he's not going to leave me. This is what I have to do for the safety of myself and my children and all the things because I battled with all that.
Right.
And that he was not going to leave me. He loved
Mhm.
me. And there was grace. I learned grace through this third checkpoint person. So that's my journey of coming into understanding who God was at the three different facets and how he did it in my life so beautifully. And
Right.
and honestly, I told you guys earlier at the beginning of this stream that I didn't know my abuser as a child was my stepdad. I thought he was my real dad.
Mhm.
And at 12 years old, when my mother kind of just plopped the paperwork in my lap and said, "Hey, by the way, that guy that was hurting you this whole time is not even your real dad. Here's your adoption papers." I was like devastated. But of course,
Mhm.
that hit too. You're rejected. You're a reject. He didn't want you. That on top of being abused and not loved by the man I thought was my dad. Now,
Mhm.
I got this to deal with. And so as an adult, I kind of battled with that a lot.
Mhm.
And again, I write about this in a lot more detail in my book, but
Yeah.
that my daughter wanted me to meet my dad so bad. She knew that I had a dad out there in the world, and I was like, I don't know, we'll see, or whatever. But I just didn't think he'd want to know me, or I didn't know where to start. But as an adult, I found him at the age of
Mhm.
32. And that relationship was amazing. Like the way that it happened was great. That story is amazing, but for the sake of time, I won't go into it.
Is it
But
in your book?
discovering, yeah, it's in my
Okay,
book for
well,
sure.
good. Then
So
you got to
important.
get the
Yeah.
book to find that story.
Yes. But chapter 15. um, yeah. So, discovering my dad and the way that now he had a choice to make, just like the guy that hurt me my whole life. My
Mhm.
my real dad had a choice to make. He could have totally like shunned me and said, I don't want anything to do with you. But he received me with open arms and crying and love and all the things. And it was beautiful. It
Mhm.
didn't, a lot of people don't get that. It didn't have to go that way, but it
Right.
did. And I'm so
Right.
thankful. So
Right.
in the process of that relationship, cultivating that relationship with my dad, I was right at the end of being in this really abusive relationship. I just didn't know it yet. I was a couple of years into learning who God the Father was. And then
Mhm.
God the Father would say things to me about my identity that I would journal. I'd write them down. Like you said, you can go back
Yeah.
and look and see where you've been. Well, I would write them down, but I would sort of believe them and I sort of wouldn't. There was still this little piece way in my heart that I was like, I can't I can't believe that, really, truly,
Right.
about
Right.
what you say about me. So once my dad and I started talking continuously over the phone, like a lot, he would say the same type of things to me that God the Father would say to me. And I would have journaled them. So I'd be like, whoa, he said this. And then my dad's saying all the same stuff and he had no clue. And he
And
wasn't
that
even
has to be
really,
totally healing as well.
yeah, that was the like the seal. Like that was the seal right there. Was my He used my real dad to say, I love you so much. I need you healed because you have to go. You have to go comfort others with the same comfort. You have to. There's hurting. This world is dying. It's like right now, if your house was on fire and you have children in your house, you're not going to just wake up and nonchalantly go upstairs and say, "Hey kids, maybe you should get up. If you feel like it, the house might be on fire." No, you're going to go
Yeah.
in there, going to rip them up out of the bed. You're going to run down the stairs. You're going to go, you're going
Right.
to be like, save them at all costs. Nothing else matters. And I feel like that's where God got me. He had to get through all the junk, help me heal all the things. And that's why he didn't leave. He was like ferociously like after me to get healed constantly by sending these
Right.
amazing people, including my dad, into my life. And I'm so thankful I've been able to know my dad now for 7 years, and it's been a great
Wonderful.
healing relationship. And he's now battling pancreatic cancer. So I'm like, thank you, Lord, for the time that I have had and the healing that has occurred in the relationship that I have been able to have with my earthly dad that's solidified that I can trust you, that you love me, that I am who you say I am.
Right, right. Oh, what a beautiful story. You have to go get Kathryn's book. Go get it and read it. And she's offering the first 3 chapters for you to be able to read and decide if you want to read more. And you can get that at her website at kathrynrosemay.com. Is that correct? And
Yes.
and so it's Behind Enemy Lies, and then there's a healing, there's a journal that goes along with it to help you to process your emotions and your feelings and the things that you're dealing with. And what's the name of the journal again? I'm sorry.
It's a healing and truth journal.
The Healing and Truth Journal. So please go get that. Please check her out. And you can also subscribe to her YouTube channel while you're subscribing to this one. Subscribe to hers. That is Kathryn May on YouTube as well. So your story has been, it's a beautiful story. It's I mean,
Thank you.
the healing is the beautiful part. So it covers up all of
Yes.
the ugliness and the bad stuff that happens. So what a wonderful story. We're so glad for the work that you do. She is you're a certified mental health coach as well. She's a certified mental
Yep.
health coach as well. So if you guys need help in those areas, if you need somebody to talk to, if you're using the journal and you still need somebody else to talk to, you can also check check with Kathryn, see if she can put you on her schedule and chat with you and help you walk through your journey, your healing journey as well. Kathryn, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for coming on and taking the time to share your story with us. We have been touched. We have been blessed by your story. Thank you so much. Again, everyone, go get her book, Behind Enemy Lies, and the Healing Journal, and follow her on her YouTube channel at Kathryn May. So thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody, you know what we do. This is it. This is the end of the show. I'm so want to remind you again, this is the last day of the month, which is Diabetes Awareness Month. And go get yourself checked. Go to the American Diabetes Association. Check for your risk of diabetes. And we're going to keep Kathryn's father in prayer as well. So everyone just give Kathryn a round of applause. So
Thank you.
throw some applause up in the chat there for us, and thank you. I really appreciate everything you've done. Until next time, everybody. This has been the SARE Nutritional Therapy Live broadcast. Remember, that stands for Sugar Addiction is Real. And until next time, peace and blessings.